Hey everyone, welcome to FO Golf channel. So today in this episode, I want to address a question from one of my clients, and really I'm sure a lot of you are asking the same question. It is about arm rotation. Really, arm rotation is part of the release. Okay, and he's asking me, hey, I have a really hard time understanding the arm rotation. Okay. So in this episode, I really want to get into some detail and it just be very specific on arm rotation, which is, like I say, it's part of the release. Okay. So first, there's two things you should not do. If you are doing those two things, you are going to have a hard time rotate your arms and release. One, if your left arm, your left side here, left shoulders, right? When you set up the club, okay? Now, I see a lot of guys in the range, they have very tense left shoulder, okay? If this shoulder is very tense, it's up here like this or up here like that, any type of tension on your left side, we're already in trouble, okay? That's a no-no, because if you do that, there's no way your left arm is going to connect to your torso properly. Again, it's going to have excessive tension. So you want to make sure your left arm, left side, is nice and relaxed. Stay firm, stay connected, but not overly tense and stressed out. Okay, so that's one. Okay, so you see how nice and relaxed, right? Okay. Two, if you cup your wrist on top of the swing, okay? Cupping of the wrist means on top of your swing, your wrist looks like this, okay? This is called the cupping of the wrist. Looks like that, okay? So I'm gonna give you a side view, okay? Now if you do that, you will also have hard time rotate and release the arm, because what happens is if you cup your wrist, this angle right here, you have to release that angle. That's just way too much work. Okay, now there's tour players that can do that, but FO Golf teaching system, whatever I'm telling you, is based on what I call the standard system for amateurs. Okay, so make sure you don't cup your wrist. Cupping the wrist also means you're over swinging. You have excessive motion coming from your right side. Now, obviously, if you're lefty, it's the exact opposite. Okay, so please make sure you're relaxed on your left shoulder and you don't cup your wrist on top of your swing. It's going to be very difficult for you to stay connected and rotate your lead arm, which is, again, part of the release. You're turning over, okay? So if you cup your wrist, it's just have too much angle here that you have to overcome, okay, to release your arms. All right, now let's get into detail why the release movement, the rotation, is important. Now, a lot of you have this book named, 5 Lessons from Ben Hogan. Ben Hogan talked about how you have to roll or turn your wrist, okay? That's actually true, but he didn't tell you the whole picture. Understanding your whole entire arm from your rotator cuff, it's also rotating, okay? Well, let's just talk about what makes sense. If I'm turning my body, if my lower body is weight transfer and turning, my upper torso is turning, from here to here, there's got to be connection, right? You cannot say, hey, I'm not doing anything here, I'm just going to do this and do that. Okay, the connection has to come from here, and that's the reason why if you watch our previous episode, I always encourage my clients to do this exercise. It's called the lead arm rotational exercise. You want to work on your range of motion, okay? All right, so let me show you from the side view. Again, we talked about how you need to make sure you keep your lead arm in a neutral position, not a locking position, right? And you can do it with your lead arm, or again, you can, if you want to even it out, you can also do it with your trail arm, and do both sides, okay? And it's highly recommended, all right? So do those exercises, make sure you have correct range of motion, okay? So let me show you understanding the way how the club is designed. We talked about how the club's design is based on this toe weighted. So in other words, if you are swinging whatever's heavy, it will spin and rotate. John Daly always talk about grip it and rip it. When he say rip it, is exactly what he meant. He's talking about rotating the arms and releasing the club. Never focus on hitting the ball square. If you're focused on hitting the ball square, you will not have a golf swing. Okay? Now I know a lot of you say, what about DJ, Dustin Johnson? We're going to address that DJ's thing about this wrist. Okay? He predominantly hits a fade shot, okay? So just keep that in mind, all right? So we don't want any of the amateurs to do that. It's extremely difficult, all right? We're talking about a standard understanding the golf swing. So on the downswing, don't focus on hitting the ball square. Allow your sequence to happen. Weight transfer, torso rotation, continue the rotation. This arm, left arm, is going to get pulled because the body rotation, hence there's a lagging motion. Visit our video on lagging, and there's rotation from here, so that way this can rotate, okay? So that way you will release the club. All right, so make sure relaxation here. Do not cup the wrist, okay? Now there's one more thing. I just want to make sure, if your body is moving up on the downswing, if your body is moving up like this, you will also have hard time release the club properly, okay? Which, go visit our episode when we're talking about maintaining spine angle, right? Anyway, so that's going to address the rotational movement of your left arm. Now, just quick thought, forget about this. Also, your right arm, if your right arm is lagging, right? If your right arm is lagging, it lags here. Your right forearm is also what? Rotating. Okay? Right arm rotating. Now remember, don't do it just with your right arm. Your lead arm, which is your left arm, has to lead. Okay? If you do it with your right arm, a lot of times you will pull it, or really your right arm, for most amateurs, you actually don't understanding the proper muscle tension and the usage if you don't have correct understanding of left arm rotation. Okay, so hopefully this will answer your questions. Leave a comment and email me. Let me know if this episode helps you. All right, so thank you for watching. See you next time.